Dr. Ekwueme is outstandingly brilliant. He is intellectually engaging. He is forthright and courageous about his convictions. And he's very patriotic and very loyal. When he agrees with you, he's with you all the way through.
A hero is a mythological or legendary figure, often of divine descent, endowed with great strength or ability to make uncommon achievements and attain laudable feats. And on October 21, 1932, Nigeria was gifted to a man who became the first elected vice president of the country. He was the epitome of excellence and selfless service to his nation and to the people he served. Described as a complete gentleman, a thoroughbred scholar, a philanthropist, and a politician per excellence who contributed his own quota to serving his country and humanity, he was a man of many parts, a scholar of repute who had so many academic awards to his name. Not only did he bag degrees in philosophy, history, sociology, law, as well as architecture and city planning, he was a successful businessman to the core and impacted on the lives of his people positively. He was also a detribalized Nigerian who was committed to the cause of a united, indivisible, and prosperous nation. He believed so much in all-inclusive governance and was one of those patriotic Nigerians who contributed in laying the foundation of a sustainable democracy in Nigeria. His name, Alex Ifeanyichukwu Ekwueme.
One should take every opportunity available to learn something. You can never know enough. Every disappointment I've had has always turned out to be a blessing in disguise.
Born on October 21, 1932, he was the first elected vice president of Nigeria. He drove socio-economic and educational advancement of all Nigerians and was an example of true courage in the midst of adversity. This week's edition of People in History takes a look at the life and times of a man who was described as a pillar of the nation's democracy and the struggle for a restructured, just, equitable, and prosperous Nigeria. A man who combined the uncommon toughness and courage of Hercules with the wits of Odysseus and Nestor to drive home his points. His name, Alex Ekwueme.
The most important thing is that he stood for unity. He stood for the common purpose of a people who can really work together despite tribe or ethnicity and all of that. And I think he stood out as someone who wasn't who was detribalized and who understood that we're greater together than apart. So I think he was exemplary in that sense, and I think that the example that he's laid for us all is that we're certainly greater together than apart.
Ekwueme was born on October 21, 1932, where he grew up in different parts of Anambra because of his father's work as a church teacher. In an interview in 2013, Ekwueme said, open quote, "Well, Oko was a very rural village, but I didn't actually grow up there because my father was a church teacher for the Church Missionary Society. They were responsible for going to rural villages where Christianity had not penetrated, and primarily to set up Christian churches. So although officially I am from Oko, I was not actually born in Oko. I was born in a village about 11 miles east of Oko called Uga, because sometimes my father was in charge of Emmanuel Church at Uga, so I was born within the church premises. And from there, after I was 4, my father was transferred to another town, Mkpologo, to Emmanuel Church, Mkpologo," close quote. There he stayed for just 1 year before he was transferred again to another church, St. Jude Adaziani, where we stayed 2 years and where my younger brother Professor Lars Ekwueme was born. After that, we moved to a place called Oba, which is in the remotest part of the state that my dad had to serve. He was the pioneer missionary there. He set up the first church and assimilated the first Christians. And after 2 years there, we came back to Oko. That was when we started living at Oko from 1940 generally, and that was at the age of 7. It was then a very rural setting. And from Oko, I went to a primary school in a neighboring town, which was about 4 miles away, and as we moved on foot every day until 2 years after that, February 1942, my father died, and my aunt then asked me to come and live with her. Close quote. According to him, after his father's death, his mother delivered twin girls, and the burden of looking after 3 children and the twins was too much for the mother, which led to his aunt inviting him to come stay with her. Ekwueme started primary school at the St. John's Anglican Central School at Ekwueme, and he then proceeded to King's College, Lagos. He passed the Cambridge School Certificate Examination with Grade 1 in December 1949, scoring the first position in 7 out of the 9 subjects he offered: English Literature, Latin, History, Mathematics, Additional Mathematics, Physics, and Chemistry.
Educational circles throughout eastern Nigeria, and most people were not of my generation, but after us who went through primary schools and teacher training colleges had their first school certificate, grade 3 certificates, grade 2 teacher certificates, all signed by Nathan Oejogo.
And in 1952, Dr. Ekwueme taught at Jose College, Warri, as an awardee of the Fulbright Scholarship in the United States of America, being one of the first Nigerians to gain the award. He attended the University of Washington, where he earned bachelor's degree in architecture and city planning and obtained his master's degree in urban planning. Ekwueme also earned degrees in sociology, history, philosophy, and law from the University of London. He later proceeded to obtain a PhD in architecture from the University of Strathclyde before gaining the BL Honours degree from the Nigerian Law School. In 1970, Ekwueme was a member of the Housing Subcommittee of the Adebo Salaries and Wages Review Commission. He also served for many years on the board of the Anambra State Housing Development Authority, as well as East Central State Committee on the exercise of the prerogative of mercy. Ekwueme received his LLB and a second PhD in Scotland in 1978. In October 1990, he enrolled at the Nigeria Law School and passed the final bar examination with second-class honors, upper division, winning the Sofolahan Prize for the best student in general paper, professional ethics, solicitor's accounts, and office management. He was called to the Nigerian bar in December 1991. In October 2002, Dr. Ekwueme authored 2 books, namely From State House to Kirikiri and Whither Nigeria, about the time that the military government led by General Olusegun Obasanjo lifted the ban on political activities. Though most people in his native eastern Nigeria supported the Nigeria People's Party (NPP), led by Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Ekwueme joined the Mo Broad-based National Party of Nigeria (NPN) and contested to fly its ticket for the governorship of Anambra State. He lost the gubernatorial primaries contest and NPN's presidential candidate Alhaji Shehu Shagari later chose him to be his running mate over more heavyweight politicians such as Dr. J.O.J. Okezie and Dr. Jerome Udoji.
That I was in the old NPN, which I still regard as the model political party for Nigeria. It was on the platform of the NPN that I was elected Vice President of Nigeria. And before that, in the First Republic, I was a strong member of the NCNC.
NPN ticket won the subsequent presidential elections, and Ekwueme was sworn in as vice president on October 1, 1979. As vice president for 4 years, Dr. Ekwueme was self-effacing, efficient, non-controversial, and also upright. He brought his relative youth and high education to bear in assisting the government through its food and shelter programs.
He was an exemplary vice president, a vice president who didn't give his president any reason to worry or doubt his loyalty, and he remained steadfast, pursuing that which he believed, particularly in politics.
Shagari again nominated Ekwueme to run with him in the 1983 elections, and even though they won, the Second Republic was overthrown by the military 3 months later. Leaders of the Second Republic, including Shagari and Ekwueme, were herded into detention after the military coup. Ekwueme spent 20 months in detention at Kirikiri prison in Lagos. He was never arraigned before the special military tribunals for the Justice Owaifo panel set up by the military government of General Ibrahim Babangida later exonerated him with the words, open quote, Dr. Ekwueme left office poorer than he was when he entered it, and to ask more from him was to set a standard which even sense could not meet. Close quote.
He's one of the few Nigerians that have actually given hope to the generation after his own. I remember after the coup of 1983, when he was put in jail, after going through the tribunal, even though it was a military tribunal, is one of the few that came out stainless, where the tribunal chairman said Ekwueme is one of the few Nigerians who came out of government poorer, and they went in.
Ekwueme lived a quiet life after his release from detention and did not show much interest in politics during the long IBB transition program. However, he gradually returned to political activity in the run-up to the 1994 Constitutional Conference convened by General Sani Abacha. At the Conference of Eastern Leaders to prepare for that conference, Dr. Ekwueme made far-reaching proposals, including for the creation of 6 regions, the 6 geopolitical zones of today, rotational single-term presidency, and 3 vice presidents, amongst others.
As a constitutionalist, he was the inventor of the 6 geopolitical zone concept and the concept for the management of our pluralistic state.
He broke the political glass ceiling for which Igbos could not have risen after the war by becoming first vice president.
He later joined hands with other patriots to form a group of G16 eminent persons that spoke out against dictatorship and for a full return to civilian rule.
Nigeria has lost an important person. If you look at the political landscape of Nigeria, Ekwueme can never be forgotten. When the military did not want a return to political activity, Ekwueme was one of the few people who got up and formed a political movement that engaged a number of active politicians and pressured the military for a return to civil rule.
When Abacha died in June 1998 and General Ado Salami Abubakar started another transition program, the G16, chaired by Ekwueme, expanded to G34, which fathered the People's Democratic Party (PDP). He was the founding chairman of the PDP party and was the first chairman of the party's board of trustees.
We had a problem in the party because I was national secretary between the legislature and the executive. We always set up a committee chairman by Alex Ekwueme to broker the peace. And he kept that democracy surviving for 8 years by the ability to be able to tame the excesses of a military person in democracy.
Dr. Ekwueme was a prolific philanthropist, public servant, and a man of peace. In 1999 and again in 2003, he sought PDP's presidential ticket, but lost on both occasions to President Olusegun Obasanjo. He turned down Obasanjo's offer to become Senate President and was instead chairman of the PDP Board of Trustees. Ekwueme was a distinguished architect. He started his professional career as an assistant architect with a Seattle-based firm, Leo A. Darley and Associates, and also with the London-based firm, Nixon and Partners. On his return to Nigeria, he joined ESO West Africa, Lagos, overseeing the construction and maintenance department. Ekwueme then went on to create a successful private business with his firm, Ekwueme Associates, Architects and Town Planners, the first indigenous architectural firm in Nigeria. His practice flourished, with 16 offices spread across Nigeria, and Ekwueme had presided over the Nigerian Institute of Architects and the Architects Registration Council of Nigeria. He was chairman of the Board of Trustees and the Nigerian Institute of Architects.
The Nigerian Institute of Architects has cause to celebrate this icon for 3 standing qualities that characterize what may be referred to as the Ekwueme brand. These qualities are professionalism, statesmanship, and integrity.
Before Ekwueme gained national and international limelight as the Vice President of Nigeria in 1979, he was actively involved in the socio-economic development of his community. In addition to his many public service roles within his community, Ekwueme started an active educational trust fund that has been responsible for sponsoring the education of several hundred youths to universities in Nigeria and abroad.
I think it was just more looking for a platform for Nigerians that want to get involved in governance, you know, to have a formal education or formal platform to match their desires. There are a lot of young people or even middle-aged people who say, well, I'm not happy with the current situation, I wish I could do more. And then I came across this program which helps, educated people in jobs, in their professions, to actually do a dual career PhD and to match that desire with formal education about policy making, good governance, and hopefully produce the next leaders of the country.
Dr. Ekwueme was a member of the Housing Subcommittee of the Adebo Salaries and Wages Review Commission. He also served for many years on the board of the Anambra State Housing Development Authority on the National Front. Ekwueme participated in the Nigeria National Constitutional Conference (NCC) in Abuja, where he served on the Committee on the Structure and Framework of the Constitution.
Certain things have to be done before you have a constitution. The constitution should be the first thing in every nation. Know the basis of your coming together. Know what is done. Then you can think about how to govern. The problem of Nigeria is not the constitution, but we need a document which will make every Nigerian equal anywhere they are, the basis upon which our former heroes, the Sargana of Sokoto, Dr. Namdi Chief Obafemi Awolowo, sat down in about 1953 and said, let's have a federation of equal partners, a federation where every region will develop at its own pace.
He was a member of the board of directors of Canada-based firm of federations. He was also a member of the Economic Community of West African States ECOWAS Council of Elders. Ekwueme was leader of the team assembled by the National Democratic Institute (NDI) for pre-election monitoring for the parliamentary election in Zimbabwe in 2000. He was the leader of the Organization of Africa Unity (OAU) observer team to the Tanzanian presidential and parliamentary election in 2000. Ekwueme co-led the 28-member NDI Carter Center-sponsored observer team to the Liberian presidential runoff election in 2005. Ekwueme was also called upon to head the Reconciliation Committee in the wake of intra-party discord after the 2015 presidential election. He was honored with the Order of the Republic of Guinea and Nigeria, second highest national honors of Grand Commander of the Order of the Niger, GCON.
Put your hands together for Dr. Alex Ekwueme.
Dr. Ekwueme was a recipient of the second highest national honor in Nigeria
and the President of Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo.
Part of the first awards ever given in the company of one of the great Nigerians of our generation. That this award is an award for the people of Ghana because of their commendable conduct and their determination to forge a future on the basis of democratic governance.
Ekwueme was the benefactor and patron of the Alex Ekwueme Foundation. As one of Nigeria's foremost advocates for the restructuring of the country, it was Ekwueme that authored Nigeria's zonal structure, although his suggestion at the time was not enshrined in the constitution. Today, it forms the basis for the country's six-zonal geopolitical structure that serves as a basis for the allocation and distribution of resources in the country.
He was a person who, first of all, classified Nigeria into 6 political zones. Although it's not part of the constitution, Ekwueme will be means for very many things in the country.
Ekwueme was the Ide of the Oko Kingdom in Anambra State, where his younger brother, Lazarus, is the traditional ruler. He was also honored by the Council of Traditional Rulers in the Old Agwata as the Ide of Agwata local government area of Anambra State, comprising 44 towns. Ekwueme, who had wedded his wife Beatrice on December 19, 1959, and their union was blessed with children, had slumped in his home on October 28 at Independence Layout, Enugu. He was admitted to the Memphis Hospital in its intensive care unit at the neurosurgery section of the hospital in Trans-Ekulu, Enugu State. 6 days after the sad development, President Muhammadu Buhari approved Ekwueme's treatment outside the country, where he later died on November 19 in London, the United Kingdom, at the age of 85.
Nigeria's first elected vice president, Dr. Alex Ekwueme, has died in a London hospital at the age of 85. Dr. Ekwueme had slumped at his residence in Enugu before he was flown to a London hospital for treatment last week. He was a recipient of the second highest national honor in Nigeria, the Grand Commander of the Order of the Niger, and was recently awarded the Grand Commander of the State of Imo by the state government.
On the philanthropic lifetime achievement of late Alex Ekwueme, Dr. Ekwueme established the Ekwueme Memorial Educational Trust Fund in 1965. This trust fund was responsible for sponsoring the education of several hundred youths to universities in Nigeria and abroad. He founded the College of Arts and Science, Oko, which has metamorphosed to the present-day Federal Polytechnic, Oko. He was the brain behind the setting up of Oko Community Hospital, Community Secondary School. Oko, through his philanthropic gestures, in line with the axiom that charity begins at home, Dr. Ekwueme touched the lives of every family in his hometown, Oko, through his philanthropic gestures, which has continued to date.
We owe a duty to our society to continue to empower ourselves and empower all others to ensure that it's better. And sometimes that calls for even the readiness to make the ultimate sacrifice. And I think that he showed at that time, a very, very dangerous time, as you probably imagine, that he was prepared to, to go all the way for the nation. So I think that today we celebrate that, and we celebrate his life, a very exemplary life.
He was honored with the title Ide Pila of Oko, the old Agwata zone comprising Orumba North Local Government Area, Orumba South Local Government Area, and Agwata Local Government Area, honored him for his philanthropic contribution to the zone with the title Ide Agwata and Orumba. Dr. Ekwueme worked assiduously to achieve accreditation for the St. Paul's University, Awka. He endowed a building for the School of Entrepreneurial Studies at the Nnamdi Azikiwe University. He donated generously to various faith groups including Roman Catholics, Anglican, Pentecostal, and African churches. He supported various community groups and youth organizations. He is the benefactor of the Alex Ekwueme Foundation, an NGO that promotes his values and ideals, to which he is the patron. On the legacies of late Alex Ekwueme, Dr. Ekwueme was one of the first Nigerians to receive the Fulbright Scholarship in the United States of America. He made his name in the professional field of architect, where he became the first indigenous architectural firm in Nigeria. He was a true lover and promoter of education, where he sponsored several hundred youths to universities in Nigeria and abroad. Dr. Ekwueme mobilized the group of 34 eminent Nigerians who risked their lives to stand up against the dictatorship of General Sani Abacha during the era of military rule in Nigeria. He was a prolific philanthropist, public servant, and a man of peace, and was also part of the brain behind the formation of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) in 1999. Dr. Alex Ekwueme was selected by his alma mater, University of Washington, Seattle, as one of the 100 alumni that made global transformative impact in the 20th century. In appreciation of his political, social, developmental, and economic contributions to humanity, Dr. Ekwueme had been honored with Order of the Republic of Guinea and Nigeria's second highest national honors, Grand Commander of the Order of the Niger, GCON. In addition to multiple honorary doctorate degrees received by many polytechnics and universities in Nigeria, he was the first civilian to be honored with a doctorate degree by the Nigeria Defense Academy. Chief Alex Ekwueme was in many respects Nigeria's version of Heracles in the Greek mythology. He was a paragon of unusual courage, ingenuity, and strength, whose battle with the military rule was synonymous with Heracles' terrific and heroic encounter with the hydra-headed Thornic monsters. Whether it was toiling for King Augeas or Velus or getting Atlas, the holder of the celestial spheres, to take back the sky on his shoulders, or it was wrestling bout with Antiochus, the giant and vicious son of Poseidon, Chief Ekwueme surely knew how to combine the toughness of Heracles and wits of Odysseus and Nestor. However, unlike these mythical characters, Chief Alex Ekwueme was a legend living among men. Though gentle by every stretch of the word, Ekwueme knew when to be radical. Thus, when it was most convenient and, in fact, the order of the day, to frolic with the military to curry favors and patronages.
As we speak now, is not a nation. By contrast, our neighbor Ghana is a nation. And there's a very big difference between a nation and a country. In a nation, you have a sense of nationhood. In a country, you just have a sense of geographical, occupy a geographical space without a sense of nationhood. The type of thing that happened in Nigeria like killing of people from other parts of the country in different parts of the country. It will never happen in Ghana. There is nothing being positively done about national integration. And you cannot have a nation just by wishful thinking. You have to work for it.
Chief Alex Ekwueme rallied like-minded and hot-headed politicians and statesmen under the auspices of G34 to speak up for democracy and serve the military a red card. Chief Ekwueme's display of raw courage marked him out as a hero of democracy. His strength of conviction, undying belief in party supremacy, and the principle of politics without bitterness came to the fore at the then Jos presidential primary election. Instead of playing the spoiler or jumping into another political camp, when he lost the presidential ticket of a house he practically helped to build, Chief Ekwueme displayed a rare sense of statesmanship and sportsmanship by robustly working for the massive victory of PDP. His roles in the founding, success and sustenance of the PDP stood him out as the unarguable father of the party.
We celebrate the consummate professional, politician, not in the non-answer of one of the two teams, and thinker who has shown that the best should rise to the calling of politics, that politics can be played with intellectualism and character, that if the best don't get involved, we consign our future to adventurists.
Many Nigerians knew Chief Alex Ekwueme as an architect, accomplished intellectual, and professional par excellence, with chains of academic degrees cutting across various disciplines. But not many knew that Chief Alex Ekwueme pitched his tent with his people in the defunct Republic of Biafra as the head of planning of the Biafran Airports Board. By the time hostilities ended, Chief Alex Ekwueme had to his credit 2 functional airports, namely the Uli and Uga airports, while the airport project at Mbaise, Ntegangwa, Umuleri, and Arochukwu were at various completion stages. All these he achieved in a short time in war situation and with limited resources. His deft political calculations in aligning with the National Party of Nigeria (NPN) instead of Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe's Nigeria People's Party (NPP) remains an indisputable evidence to the detribalized and pragmatic person of Chief Ekwueme. His ability to beat other better-known political powerhouses of Igbo extraction to the vice presidential ticket in a game he was clearly a neophyte at the time, as well as his subsequent role in facilitating the state pardon and eventual return from exile of the late Eze-Igbo Gburugburu Dim Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu to reunite with Ndi Igbo and Nigeria, showcased him as a skillful player and agent of national reconciliation and unity.
He is a brilliant politician and a consensus builder. As a politician, his unapologetic stance on equitable power sharing is remarkable. As an architect, he distinguished himself as the designer of several public and private monuments spread across the length and breadth of Nigeria.
Nigeria's Second Republic Vice President Dr. Alex Ifeanyichukwu Ekwueme, who died Sunday night of November 19, 2017 at a London clinic at the age of 85, will be remembered for many things, other than being a foremost architect, a statesman and consummate politician who stood tall in the Second Republic. He will be remembered for the role he played in the Constitutional Conference of 1995 that gave birth to the 1999 Nigerian Constitution. Nigeria has had many vice presidents, both past and present. However, late Alex Ekwueme remains one of a different kind in terms of his relationship with the people when he was elected into office in 1979 to 1983 in the Second Republic.
I feel so bad. We have lost a great man. Well, all of us are going one day, one after the other. In politics, he did very fine. And he was a very great leader of our Igbos.
Alex Ekwueme has been a very peace-loving elder statesman. He will be remembered for the role he played in the political history of this nation as the vice president when we had our Second Republic. The death of Alex Ekwueme, of course, this time around is quite unfortunate because the likes of Alex Ekwueme would have been needed as a statesman, particularly from the eastern region, that believe in the unity of this country.
Until his death, Ekwueme was one of the people who fought for the independence and true democracy of Nigeria, despite all the obstacles. If there are Nigerians, few as they would be, who could be called true statesmen, Ekwueme would rank high among them. He prepared himself for leadership and was eminently qualified for it. He was well-read and was also a bundle of integrity. He is fondly remembered today for his famous proposals at the NCC, which encapsulated the now popular 6 geopolitical zones. Also, when the going got really tough in Nigeria under the dictatorship of the late General Sani Abacha, it was Ekwueme who seized the bull by the horn and mobilized a group of 34 eminent Nigerians to challenge Abacha's reign of terror.
He was a person who first of all classified Nigeria into 6 political zones. Although it's not part of the constitution, Ekwueme will be means for very many things in the country.
Dr. Ekwueme, a noted philanthropist, was the benefactor and patron of Alex Ekwueme Foundation. Particularly worthy of note about the man was the general belief that on the question of integrity, he probably stood head and shoulder above his peers. Nigerians will never forget the verdict of the military panel that investigated him after he was detained along with other key political actors following the fall of the Second Republic through a military coup. Whereas many others were found wanting based on the widespread allegations of corruption and looting of national treasury, the panel declared to have found Ekwueme poorer after leaving office than he was before he was elected into the exalted position of vice president. In their various tributes to the late patriotic Nigerian, President Buhari commiserated with the Oko Kingdom, the Agwata Council of Traditional Rulers, and the Ekwueme family over the loss of the patriarch. The president said his regular council on national issues and mediations for peaceful coexistence would be sorely missed. The president affirmed that Dr. Ekwueme's unwavering commitment to the unity of Nigeria had been a major encouragement to many governments, recalling the personal sacrifices he made in helping to lay the foundation for sustainable democracy in Nigeria. The president believed Dr. Ekwueme worked assiduously to improve the livelihood of many poor and underprivileged people through the Alex Ekwueme Foundation, describing him as a man who served his country and humanity. Also, former President Olusegun Obasanjo described the death of the first civilian vice president of Nigeria, Alex Ekwueme, as a shock. Obasanjo noted that Ekwueme was a great Nigerian who devoted his life to distinguished service of his fatherland. According to him, the late Ekwueme was a selfless, disciplined and patriotic Nigerian who lived a worthy and exemplary life. Open quote. His irrepressible thirst for knowledge and education, which propelled his foray into many fields of intellectual pursuit, represents a shining example to the younger generation. As the whole world pays tribute to Ekwueme, I join them in celebrating the life of a man who rose from the beacon of human struggle to lofty heights of nobility." Close quote. Ekwueme was no doubt a great son of Africa. In his native Nigeria, he was distinguished in many ways. His exemplary humility, his profound intellect, and his personal contributions to the advancement of the common good were all hallmarks of greatness.
Through trials and tribulations, and through all the vicissitudes of life, because it's not always pleasure. You have pain, you have joy, you have sorrow. But with the grace of God, one will be able to withstand the ups and downs of life.
This week's edition of People in History not only celebrates the contributions of a great man to democracy, advancement of Nigeria, it also celebrates a rare icon, a true democrat, selfless leader, prolific philanthropist, accomplished statesman, renowned public servant, patriot, man of peace, a father figure of the nation's current democratic dispensation, and a great son of Igbo land. His name, Dr. Alexander Ifeanyichukwu Ekwueme.
So my father was trained as he was the first indigenous architect in Nigeria. He later on became the first vice president of the country. And even though he became the vice president in his 40s, but throughout his, from his middle-aged life till the present, he's very much involved with moving the country forward, and any which way he can participate. He participated in the 1995 Constitution. He's a founding father of the present ruling party, the PDP, and over the years he's always ready to lend support and to move the country forward. So naming this in his honor, I hope will help to bring out people like him who are very dedicated to their country and the well-being of Nigeria.
This week's edition of People in History was scripted and sourced by Jane Owa and terrifically produced by Joseph Manasseh. Among useful sites include Wikira.com, Biography.com, NigerianMonitor.com, amongst others. My name is Xavier Robert.
The bold and unequivocal statement made by everyone, which should serve as a motivating factor for Dr. Alex Ekwueme as he to serve his fatherland with all his might and strength, is that Nigerians will never allow the labors of our heroes past to go in vain. Dr. Alex Ekwueme is our legend and our hero in perpetuity.